Well, joining me now is India's High Commissioner to the UK, Vikram Doraiswamy. Thank you so much, High Commissioner, for joining us here on the programme. Our correspondent Cordelia Lynch was just reporting there from Pakistan, and she also talked about the warning that Pakistan has issued, saying the world will find out when they do strike back. How concerned are you that this thing is just going to start to escalate?
Let me point out that the original escalation is Pakistan's sponsored terror group's attack on civilians in Pahalgam on 22nd April. You know, our response thereafter was precise, targeted, reasonable, and moderate. It was focused principally and solely on terrorist infrastructure. We did not strike the Pakistani military establishment. We did not strike national infrastructure. And we made it abundantly clear, including in the briefing that was given yesterday morning by our permanent secretary, our foreign secretary, and by military officers, that the object of this exercise was clearly to avoid military escalation. The fact was actually acknowledged in a left-handed way, of course, by the Pakistani side in terms of their own statements, official statements, which said that the airspace hadn't been violated and that, no military establishments were attacked.
And yet they did say that civilians were killed in this attack.
You see the images that they put out themselves. These were at places well known and identified even in Western media for many, many years as central points in the terrorism infrastructure of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the lashkar-e-taiba, the Hizbul Mujahideen, well-known parts of that infrastructure and those establishments.
Can you confirm that the leader and founder of Jaish-e-Mohammed's family members were killed in this strike?
Well, they put it out on their own social media. This is not us confirming. It is on well-known handles, social media handles of the group.
High Commissioner, I want to ask you about Chinese-made Pakistani fighter jet planes that say they shot down at least 2 Indian military aircraft on Wednesday. What is your reaction and response to that?
Well, you had the defense minister on your show a couple of days ago. He said that the evidence for that was on social media. By that yardstick, today's media all over in India over the last 3 hours has reported the shoot down of 2 Chinese-made fighter jets and an F-16 and an airborne early warning platform.
Well, High Commissioner,
I don't believe, the point that I was trying to make, if I may just complete that, look, if it satisfies Pakistan's ego to say that they've done something, they could have used that as an off-ramp to move on. But clearly they chose not to, and they've continued to escalate the matter.
This is a report I'm reading from Reuters based on 2 US officials telling Reuters this. They're saying it's the first time that Western officials have confirmed that there was high confidence that Pakistan had used the Chinese-made J-10 aircraft to launch air-to-air missiles against Indian fighter jets, bringing down at least 2.
This is something that, let's ask Reuters. But my larger sense is that there is no evidence of that. We haven't actually confirmed any such thing. The better point is to ask, actually, if all of this is true and if Pakistan has essentially succeeded in making its point as it wanted to, why are they not stopping? The question you have to ask yourself, however, is the other one, which is that if Pakistan says it's retaliating, as my colleague, the Pakistan High Commissioner, said here yesterday, what are they retaliating about? They're retaliating against attacks on terrorism infrastructure. So what does that tell you of their relationship with the terror groups?
Well, they're saying that they're distancing themselves completely from Pahalgam, and they're saying they had nothing to do with it. They've said that they've asked for an investigation, and India has refused an international investigation that they were happy to cooperate in.
Well, this is a story we've heard multiple times before. In 2016, after the Pathankot attack, which you referred to, we offered them an unprecedented amount of access to an Indian Air Force base, which had been attacked at Pathankot, DNA samples, telephone records, the whole works. It was supposed to be a joint investigation. We never got invited for the second part of it. And frankly, each time, if you go all the way back to 2008 to the Mumbai terror attacks, where a substantial amount of information and material evidence was provided to the world and to Pakistan, who made the same generous offer of cooperation, all they've used it for is to hide their tracks and to take away fundamentally what are assets of their deep state.
High Commissioner, I'm just going to keep you there because I just want to give our viewers and audience some context and bring that in. And I just want to pause for a moment, just remind our viewers how the two countries stack up against each other militarily. Now, India has over 1.2 million active personnel in its army. Pakistan has less than half of that, 560,000. In the Navy, India has 75,000 active personnel and Pakistan has 30,000. In the Air Force, India has almost 150,000 personnel, while Pakistan, again, has less than half with 70,000. But let's look at the Chinese factor now into the equation. China is by far Pakistan's largest weapons supplier, providing 81% of imports from 2020 to 2024. In contrast, Russia is your country's largest supplier, India's, and provided 36% of its weapon imports in the same period. How worried is India about the China factor?
I don't see why we should be. The Chinese have a relationship with us also. Their own statements of yesterday from their Foreign Office and their Foreign Office spokespersons have been, by the broad metrics of the reactions elsewhere, been largely in the center. I don't see why that should be a factor.
It doesn't worry you then that they supply such a high level of military hardware to Pakistan, 80% or so? And that's the accusation in terms of what shot down these two Indian military aircraft?
Well, according to the same sets of unknown and unnamed people, we've supposedly shot down two Chinese fighters earlier today. I don't know if these are true. Nobody knows if this is true, unless actual evidence is put out of it, although the press is now suggesting in India that they even have they've even had pilots who've ejected and been captured. Now, the reality is simply this. China requires a relationship with all of its neighbors. That includes us. Its defense relationship with Pakistan is long-standing. It is for Pakistan to decide whether it chooses to use its military hardware for its self-defense or to actually attack other countries. This has been the problem even with material supplied by the United Kingdom or by the US in the past. Essentially, it's been taken on the guise of fighting terror, for instance, like the F-16 aircraft bought in the mid-2000s. And as we all know, the F-16 has principally been used against us, including in 2019.
That's correct. Pakistan says that it will strike at a time and place of its choosing, and India will be made aware of that. Is India worried and preparing for this and potential scenarios?
We have made it abundantly clear in our official statement, again, as I said, both yesterday and today. We're not looking for an escalation, but if Pakistan responds, as we have done, we will respond proportionately and in exactly the same line.
Which would be what? Targeting these terror bases or
Well,
beyond?
look, we have said if the military is attacked, we had not attacked their military. As they've now started trying to attack our bases, we've hit back at their air defense systems and at their units too. But I do want to remind everybody that for the last 15 days, they've also opened up artillery fire along the line of control, also in Jammu and Kashmir. So that has had a civilian toll. So for everybody who's worrying about that, this has been going on for the last 2 weeks.
I just want to come back to this point on the Indian military aircraft. I know India is not confirming this situation. There are now Western officials coming out. The French have said that they have an understanding that the aircraft, the Rafale that India has been hit. Are you concerned that you're going to continue to have this kind of loss?
I don't think so. What is the purpose? First of all, we don't know if this has happened. But as a famous British admiral once said, the purpose of military infrastructure and hardware is for it to be used, right? If it serves its purpose, and it all serves its purpose brilliantly, I think there is little doubt that we have hit with great precision as many as 9 terror infrastructure camps. We have shown we have the capacity to hit with surgical precision at individual buildings within the terror camps. What we are then signaling is we have the capacity, if Pakistan escalates it, we have the capacity to really punish them harder.
High Commissioner, I just have a minute left, but I've spoken to a retired general who, in Pakistan, who referenced India funding and backing the Baluch Liberation Army. They've said that they have done that for years. And when I asked him about Masood Azhar, he said, well, their family members were targeted. Should we be doing the same to, the high-level militants from the BLA, the Baluch Liberation Army, that are seen and operate within Delhi?
Well, look, let me show you this photograph of yesterday, I believe it is, to your viewers. This person here is a sanctioned terrorist under the American sanctions regime. His name is Hafiz Abdur Rauf. He's a brother of the founder of the terrorist groups that you're mentioning. Look who's behind him, Pakistani military. Look at the coffins there. They have the Pakistani national flag. If you're going to be giving terrorists state funerals, what does that make of your system? And everybody knows that for the last 30 years, Pakistan has used this as a means of subcritical warfare against India. If the international community really wants to be able to look at this and worry about it, the simple solution is to tell Pakistan it has an opportunity for an off-ramp. These are things that the world should have compelled Pakistan to do 30 years ago, and to compel them to implement their promises about taking down this infrastructure. It has not done so.
We can't verify these images ourselves, and this is part of one of the problems, High Commissioner, that both sides, there's a lot of information coming out, but independent journalists, foreign journalists are not being given access. The Pakistanis have said to me, you're free to come to the sites that have been targeted, and we can take you to the line of control as well with the military to show you what's been hit and targeted. And in the same way, the information that we find that we're getting out of, and this image that you've shown was shown at a press conference that the military in Delhi put out as well. But that is part of the problem here as well, isn't it, High Commissioner? I mean, there is an information warfare that's taking place, and independent journalists can't seem to get access to either side.
Well, look, it is a fluid situation out there. I don't know how helpful it would be to have independent journalists or any kind of journalists wandering around in an area where there is active military operations happening. The logical solution would be, as we've said repeatedly, for Pakistan to take the opportunity of an off-ramp, which we have made abundantly clear, including this morning, that if Pakistan stops attacking our military facilities, the matter ends there. But it is for them to decide.
High Commissioner, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.